All right, you're listening to 91.5 WUML Lowell Blues Deluxe, and it's my pleasure today to introduce you to Gina Coleman from the Misty Blues Band and other things that she's doing these days. Hello, Gina.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking some time to talk to me about your career and music and everything. First thing I want to ask you about is gospel. I read in your bio that
hmm
you would sing gospel early on, and
Yeah.
and that was the beginning of where you started, basically.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing because I was actually raised a Catholic. And so we didn't sing like that in church. I had an opportunity to perform in the Williamstown Theater Festival production of A Raisin in the Sun
Yep.
in 1999. And they cast me as a gospel singer. And so I had to learn these gospel
Gospel
tunes.
songs. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And I would come out in between at the changes of the acts to divert the audience attention to, the set moving around.
Yep.
And at the end of the run of that show, the lead actor, Ruben Santiago Hudson, gave me a CD collection called Men Are Like Streetcars. And he's like, you got to stop doing whatever genre of music I was doing, which was kind of like a folk funk, acoustic folk funk.
Yep.
He's like, your voice is perfectly suited for the blues. And he's like, listen to this. And, and I did. And it was transformative. It was certainly what I think, was meant for me to do.
So
And I did.
So once you heard that, I'm guessing you did a deep dive into blues and started to listen to people.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard. I mean, it's not like I was a stranger to the blues. It was that particular collection, that was really eye-opening for me. It was all female blues singers between 1928 and 1969. And it was wonderful to hear many of the songs I'd heard previously, but in a collection, and made it was like a key. That unlocked something.
It opened a door for you.
Exactly. So I went to the guys in the band that I was in previously, which was Cold Connection, and I'm like, let's change things up and become a blues band. And off the top of my head, I said, let's call ourselves Misty Blues. And they were like, yeah, sure. And probably about 2 months later, we were performing under Misty Blues.
And you are in Western Mass
Yes. Yeah. Williamstown. Yeah.
Williamstown. You went to school there. You went to college there. And
I did.
So
I'm originally from the South Bronx.
Wow.
Yeah.
And, you're close enough to New York and even Vermont to get into clubs up in that area too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you about the scene in way out in Western Mass. I know the Central Mass scene. I know the East New England scene. Tell me a little bit about Western Mass and what the blues scene is like in that. I know I talked to Albert Cummings. He's from that area too, but
he's from the same town.
Yep.
Yeah. At one point we were neighbors. So
there you go.
So there you go. I mean, and there's just like the two of us, really.
That's it.
That's really it. We've pretty much cornered the market on blues in Western Mass. Western Mass is really more known for folk. I mean, because this is where Arlo Guthrie lives, in our county, and there are venues where Arlo Guthrie and Joan Baez and Bob Dylan. There's a iconic little club called the Dreamaway Lodge in Beckett, Massachusetts, that really hosted all of those just iconic folk artists. And they would create music there. There's a couple of documentaries and movies on the Dream Away and that group of musicians creating music at the lodge there. But yeah, that's, for the most part. And then we have Tanglewood.
Yeah.
So the summer home of the BSO. So that's, so there's classical music going on.
Yeah, you're a hop, skip, and a jump from New York, which isn't too far away. So you can get into New York and play at some of the places there, like the Bitter End, as I wanted to ask you about. You played there.
Yeah, actually, we played there before we were Misty Blues. We played there when we were Coal Connection. But since we play next door to the Bitter End, I mean, literally next door, they share a wall, is a club called Terra Blues. Yeah. And it's one of the longest standing blues clubs in New York City. And we frequent Terra Blues. Yes.
So this is surprisingly, it's great to say this. 25 years you've been doing this. You started in 1999, and you're still doing it.
Still doing it.
and now you're a guitarist, percussionist, singer, and songwriter. You do it all.
Yeah. Yeah. Not all exceptionally well, but I do a lot of it.
and you have the new 25th anniversary album called Silver Lining that just came out.
Yes. We just released it on May 1st. So still in this month.
And then I'm digging going 15 albums in all that time you put out. That's incredible.
Yeah. Well, we have another one coming out. So it'll be 16 before the end of the year, actually, before the end of the summer. We're putting out our 16th album, I think August 2nd.
Wow. Yeah, I want to make sure I get one.
All right. You got it.
So let's talk about IBCs. 2019, you went with the band and you went to the finals.
Yes.
Not many bands can do that.
Well, we went to the IBCs in 2018 and didn't make it out of the quarterfinals. Wow. But then we got our judging reports, and it was very clear where we had some missteps. And so we just corrected them.
And what were they? What were they?
Okay, so our thought was we wanted to go in there, because there's a set amount of time, and it's not a lot of time. It's about like 25 minutes you have to impress the judges and the audience. And we tried to cram in as many songs as we possibly could in various styles of blues that we play in. And the remarks were, we didn't get enough of who you were. Not enough banter. And I'm like, oh, you want us to do what we do back at home. So I'm like, okay, less songs, a little more of our character and stories and what makes us who we are. And that's what we did. And it was very comfortable for us to do that. And we were kind of, we were just swinging at the fences in 2018, but now we just kind of settled in and enjoyed the process and did what we normally do. And that turned out to be fruitful for us. We made it all the way to the finals.
And who won that year? You didn't win, right?
We did not win that year.
Do you remember?
I can't even remember. I'll have to go back and look.
That's all right.
Yeah. But it was a bigger size band. It was like an 8-9 piece band. That one, not that we were a small outfit. I think we had 6 or 7 ourselves.
It's fierce competition. I was there down in 2023 and I saw the fierce competition that's down there with the bands that come down and the judging, and it's a lot of it's subjective. The judging is subjective of what they want to hear.
No, absolutely. Yeah. But there are certain things that they want to, they lean towards a more traditional style of blues. I think that's kind of their preference, which we don't always hit, because that's just not
Yep.
not always us.
Yep.
But if you do something, they want originals.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
big thing, which is
Yep.
never a problem for us. But if you do a cover, it's got to be, like no one has ever heard before. They don't want to hear the.
This is great information, by the way.
Oh,
Because a lot of bands that go down there don't understand that and don't know that.
yeah, yeah. And they also want you to be put together. I said when we came back, they really wanted how we do things back home, with the exception of, they don't want you in your weekend bar gig clothes.
Yep.
They want you to look like you're out to compete, and to impress.
Dress up.
Dress up.
Well,
Yeah,
like the
don't
old
wear your dirty T-shirt on stage.
Well, like the old blues guys, they all wore suits and ties.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't go that far with my band. I think there would be a revolt. But we do have, we do dress up. We do have kind of our own look, and it's tight. And I think
good.
that is impressive. Now, my son's band had the honor of getting a bid to compete in the IBCs this year, and for their first time, and they made it their first time around into the semifinals, which is huge.
Yep.
Most bands don't make it out of the quarterfinals.
That's good.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. Who did you
Sure.
compete? What blues society, or how did you compete for that?
Oh, the Capital Region Blues Network. That's out of Albany, New York. We're much closer to Albany than we are to Boston. So that it made perfect sense. We're only about 45 minutes away from that area.
So you competed there. That's great. And your son, is that where he competed too?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So he'll be going back again next year, I'm guessing. He's going to try again.
Well, fingers crossed. I think it's August 4th is when they compete, and hopefully he'll get another bid, because I think his band is well suited for making it to the finals.
And his band's name is
the Diego Mung Band.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So let's talk about 2024. You were at the IBCs this year.
Yes. Misty Blues hosted the Women of Blues Showcase at Alfred's this year. And that was a lot of fun. And so my band came and they backed up all the women that were selected to perform in the showcase. So it was great. They got to study other musicians' music and back them up. And it was great for me to introduce all those acts and get to meet some of these women that I've listened to their music, but never met them. So that was a great honor to meet some of these incredible artists, for the first time face to face.
Like who? Who was there?
Oh my gosh. Well, there was, now you're putting me on the spot. Nisi was there.
Yep.
She what a showwoman. She's been around for a long time, and she was just firing on all cylinders. That was so. The Gail Herod Band was there. Fantastic, based out of Baltimore. I was, I've heard her music, and I'm like, wow. And she's like the nicest person. So that was very cool. Yeah.
And how did you get that opportunity to go do that? Did the Blues Foundation reach out to you, or how did that?
No, actually the showcase is put on by the National Women in Blues Foundation. So Michelle Seidman reached out to me. We're friends. And, because she supports all female blues artists out there. they have the website, and they also have Facebook presence, and where you post all of your new stuff. So that's a good place for people to go and check out what the women in blues are doing today. And so I reached out to her to tell her the good news that my son's band got a bid to the IBCs, and that I would be coming in January to support him. So I'll make a point of coming to the showcase and saying hello. And then she's like, "Oh, well, you have to host the showcase." And I'm like, "Wow, oh, yeah, I could do that."
And you brought your band with you too.
And I just brought my band because my band, they wanted to come and support my son's band as well, and so this was a great opportunity for them to be supportive and also do what we do and play music.
So tell me about Silver Lining. Tell me how that came about, putting that record together, knowing that it was going to be coming out in the 25th year.
Yeah. Well, our previous all original album, one Outside the Lines, which we released last year, was really the first time we really, with great abandon, just like decided to just record the music that makes us happy, and not really be too mindful of the naysayers about, the traditionalness, if it's not Delta blues and, or it's not Chicago blues, then it's not blues. And, we wanted to make a statement saying, no, we still create blues in all its iterations. And I think, that was the first time we really allowed ourselves to just, not, put a damper on the outside voices and just do what we wanted to do. And Silver Lining is just another step up from that. This is our 25th anniversary year, so we really didn't want to listen to anyone else and just put out, the best music that we had to put out, and without any reservations about not being bluesy enough. Lyrically, I say all the time, lyrically, everything I write is blues. There's categorically nothing that I write that isn't blues. Now, that when we put the music behind it, sometimes we like to slide into other genres, because we all love a huge palette of music. Our core is the blues, but we like to infuse the blues with other genres, as most other American genres came from the blues.
Yep.
So it makes sense to us.
Yep.
And that's at its core what Silver Lining's about. And also lyrically, this is probably the first album where many of the songs that I've written are about me, is about my life. And I have normally been one to be an observer of life and write about the experiences that I see other people have. So there's a great vulnerability in this album, in that a lot of the songs are about my life.
Directly related to things in your life.
Yeah.
You were nominated for some blues awards a few years ago. Tell me about that. Tell me, what did you think of that when that happened?
No, it was great. I felt like people had finally taken notice. Yep. And, it's not like, we just started up last year or something like that. And, to a great degree, I'm just like, I really don't understand why more people haven't heard of us, because we have an exceptional amount of airplay internationally, globally,
Yep.
And we've been cranking away for so many years. So it's funny when I hear you say that you're next door and you're first, and you're now learning of us, but we've been around the block many times.
Well, I knew the band name, and I've
Yeah.
listened to some of the stuff that you've done in the past, but I didn't realize you were around as long as you have been around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't realize that you made the finals and all of that. Reading the bio stuff, it was like, wow, this is amazing for someone.
We're like the best kept secret.
Yeah. So tell me about your relationship with Albert Cummings, since you guys are neighbors. Well, what's that? He's such a nice guy.
No, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, and he has always spoken fondly of us, which really appreciate it. But we don't really run in the same circles. It's kind of funny. Occasionally I think we've done one or two more regional, to the Berkshires, some events in the Berkshires, but we never cross paths when we're out on the road. It's just really funny. But last week we were number 1 and number 2 on Sirius XM Bluesville's Rack of Blues list, which is really funny. The top 2 songs of the week are from the same town.
Yeah. And he constantly will text me or email me when he's around or close by, and I promote him. I've done interviews with him too, and he's humble. He doesn't make a big deal out of how well or how good he is. He just goes out and does it. And
exactly.
That's what I like about him. He's head first. I want to play music, and I'm going out to play music, and that's what he does.
Exactly. And he's a great vocalist and an amazing guitarist. And I was so excited when he got the BMA nomination for that album live at the 62 Center, which is where I did was it 2 weeks ago, did our album release concert for Silver Lining at the 62 Center.
Yeah. So tell me about people you've opened for, major blues acts. Tell me what that was like to be able to do that, and how did that relate to future work with those artists or anything with those artists?
Well, in a lot of cases, we have recorded with major artists and then opened for them. So, Eric Gales was on Outside the Lines with us, and then we opened for him in Cohoes, New York. Joe Louis Walker.
Yeah,
we've opened for him many times, and he was also on one of our albums. And a great track called Take a Long Ride. And he's a wonderful person. I am like the hugest Joe Louis Walker fan. I'm like his biggest cheerleader. Talk about someone who's incredibly down to earth and generous, just giving us a lot of insight into the industry, and I mean, he's played with Hendrix, and Muddy. He's played with everyone, and us. That's just absolutely incredible. We've opened for a Roomful of Blues and James Montgomery, and
Jimmy, I call him. He's been a fixture in this area for many, 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 many years, and he and I are great friends. I talk to him all the time.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, next time you see him or talk to him, tell him Gina said hello.
I'll tell him. He's come in and played on my show before.
Oh, nice.
And
well, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to coming in and playing.
Yeah, we got to work that out. And I want to get your son in too. Maybe before he goes back to Memphis, if he wins, after that in the fall, maybe we can have your son come too with his band.
I'm sure he would love that.
So tell me something listening to you talking about that record collection, what
Yeah.
singer in that record collection just blew you away that you were listening to?
Oh, wow.
Good question, isn't it?
I know it is a good question. Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you. There are four singers that I'm going to pick out because they were all in that collection, and I have since started a tribute show. It's called Queens of the Blues, where we pay homage to my four blues queens. And we tell stories about their lives and perform their music. And it's a great theater show. And those four queens of ours, Bessie Smith, Big Mama Thornton, Ruth Brown, and Coco Taylor.
Yeah, I knew Coco.
Now, Coco Taylor.
I knew that was in there.
There are others that I love. I mean, I love the Growlers. That's who I'm drawn to. So Coco Taylor and Big Mama Thornton and Big Maybelle. Oh my God. Big Maybelle's voice sounds like a trumpet. There's a horn-like quality about her voice that is just puts me on my heels every time I listen to her.
Yeah, well, she had the big band behind her too, and she just let it rip.
Yeah, and she really did sound like another instrumentalist.
Yeah.
Her voice was just so powerful. And I have given thought of adding a fifth queen to my Queens of the Blues show. So maybe as time goes on, we'll put in some Big Maybelle tunes in there. Although I'm not sure how I'll ever be able to sing Big Maybelle because she has such a distinctive voice.
Well, when I first learned about her and I heard her music for the first time, I went, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
I was like, she's a force to be reckoned with, and the band behind her was just so good. They made her a star. Just the band and her voice were incredible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But another queen who isn't always connected with the blues is Odetta.
Yeah, she is though. She is though.
Yeah, I know she is, but there's some people who say otherwise. I actually am a huge Odetta fan, so much so that we have done a live tribute album to Odetta last year, and it's called "Tell Me Who You Are: Live Tribute to Odetta," which ended up on the Roots Music Report charts for traditional folk, the album chart for 24 consecutive weeks at number one.
Wow.
And it was I had no idea because that was our first foray into the folk world. How well received we would be, and she has such an amazing catalog of music that we had to double down and do another live tribute. So that's the 16th album coming out this year, is another tribute to Odetta, and it makes sense in that this year she not only was inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame, but also the Folk Hall of Fame. I don't know why it took so long for the Folk Hall of Fame to bring her in. Since Dr. Martin Luther King dubbed her the Queen of American Folk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was known as the voice of the civil rights movement. Rosa Parks was like a huge fan of Odetta's. And she passed in 2008. And we're like one of the first bands to do a full album tribute to her. And it seemed wrong to me that we're like one of the first groups to do full tributes to this woman, because the body of work was so incredible. And I didn't want her to fade into obscurity, especially since in the early 90s, I met Odetta.
See that?
I met her. Yeah, I met her in a club in New York City called the Bottom Line. I was there as a guest of Arlo Guthrie's. And so we were going to go see an Arlo Guthrie concert, and we were at a reserved table, and they sat her next to me. And she just blew me away. And we had just such a I have spent a whole evening with Odetta, And then at the end of the night, Arlo Guthrie asked everyone to sing his father's song, "This Land Is Your Land." So we all stood up, and I'm singing out full voice. And then I realized, what are you doing? Odetta's next to you. And I turned to her, and she locked eyes with me and just gave me this nod of approval. And then we linked into like the most incredible harmonies together. So for a long time, I had on my resume, sang with Odetta.
Yeah.
Because I did.
I did an interview with Tom Rush, who talked about her and spending a lot of time with her in Cambridge when she was there.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of nice things to say about her as well.
Yeah. No, she's just an incredible artist that, should never be forgotten. And I hope we're doing our small part to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, she was in the folk genre as well as blues. And then you have Nina Simone on the other side of it, the jazz side.
Yep. Yes. I do love Nina Simone. I mean, there's just so many incredible artists out there.
There's a lot from that era, from the 20s all the way through the 40s, 50s, 60s. Yep. There's a lot of great female blues singers, jazz singers. Yep. Dinah Washington is another one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Ethel Waters.
Yep.
Just great. When we look at, we recently lost Tina Turner. Tina Turner first started out as a blues singer.
Yeah, I know. I did a tribute to her, and all I did was play blues songs that she sang.
Yeah.
I didn't play any hits, no hits, all the blues stuff.
Did you play Nutbush?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I went even deeper into the blues side of her.
Did you do 3 o'clock blues?
Yes, I did. Yep.
I love that. That's the only reason my band plays 3 o'clock blues is because I heard Tina's version on that collection.
And people were blown away because they had never heard the blues side of Tina Turner. And I pulled out as much of it as I could find. About
that's awesome.
40 minutes of. I can send it to you if you want.
Oh, please. I'd love to hear.
It was great. It was all, I had never heard half the stuff that I was playing. And I had to reconfigure when I was playing what, because it was a 45-minute period or 38-minute period. And I'm going, do I want to play this one? Do I want to play that one? There was so many that I could play that no one had, and people were calling me saying, where'd you find this stuff? I said, out there.
It's out there. Yeah. Well, I have a podcast, and I also have a radio show called The Queens of the Blues, where I pull out these just gems from. Mostly, I tend to go further back, to the 20s and folks who were born in like the 1800s, the late 1800s. I love those scratchy records and the pops, and there's something just so wonderful about that. Not everyone likes that, so I have to mix it up.
Well, you got Memphis Minnie and Lucille Bogan. Boy, she was crazy. Lucille.
Oh yeah, and Ida Cox.
Yep.
Gladys Bentley.
Yep. There's a lot of them. Surprisingly enough. Yeah, there was. Yeah. They were all over the place. Not all of them got recording contracts, but they record. You could hear their stuff somehow.
Oh yeah, no, very much so. Blues in recorded form was brought to the masses by women.
Right.
Mamie Smith is the first one to record and release, blues music. Not to say that there weren't male folks out there. There was this sense that it was much more palatable to the masses to bring blues deliver blues from females early on than males.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's lots of them. Like you said, I could name a whole bunch more from that
I could go for
era.
days.
So what's the most important thing that's happened to you in your career so far?
Well, this year, I mean, this being the 25th anniversary year, we had, so many just cool things. Not on top of releasing 2 albums, we had a documentary made on us around the making of the Silver Lining album, and it's now being put out to film festivals. It was premiered during our album release concert. So we opened the concert with the documentary, and then we played the album in its entirety in order. And that's just an incredible piece of work that was put out by filmmakers, George Cox, and out of the outfit Outpost Studios in Stockbridge, Mass. So that's huge for us to have a piece that, they didn't just highlight the album, but they did a deeper dive on the origins of Misty Blues. And that's just an incredible piece of work to sit back and reflect on these 25 years that have gone by so incredibly fast. And I'm like, wow, I really have accomplished something.
So it's going to be played at festivals. Can people get it? Is there a way to get it yet?
They can't get it yet until it's through the festival season. It's one of those festival things. I don't really understand that. That's not my genre. But I guess when you're submitting, documentaries and pieces, that it can't be out there, to the masses, which seems weird to me, but it's a thing. I imagine probably by the end of this year, it'll be up in a platform that people can visit it and see what we're all about on film.
So you talk about traveling, in the United States, the East Coast, and have you been overseas?
Yeah, we have. We were just there last summer. We did a tour, a UK and England tour, and had the great fortune of playing at the Cavern Club in Liverpool. And we had a great. I mean, every one of our shows, full attendance, and people were just very taken by us. And I think the most surprising thing was how well our back catalog was known in the UK, because there wasn't a time where every time we finished a show, we would go out and meet the folks that came out to see us. And there wasn't a night that someone asked, well, I was hoping you'd play this. I'm like, oh, I don't even remember writing that song. They had songs from our earliest albums at the tip of their tongues. And I'm like,
what's that tell wonderful. You? What does that tell you, right?
That's wonderful. Yeah. No, it says a lot. But then we went to the Cavern Club, the famous Cavern Club. Had an incredible night. I mean, we were really firing on all cylinders, even though it was like our next to last show. So
yeah, but you knew.
I couldn't imagine if we were like I was in my best voice, because we were grinding it, playing every day that we were out there. And when we got back to the rental home that we were staying in, I got an email from the sound engineer. He's like, "Oh, I did a multi-track recording. Would you like it?" I'm like, "Yes, I would." And it was as good as I thought we had played, and that's not always the case.
That opens another question. Are you going to release that sometime?
Oh no, it's released. We released it last year. Yeah, that was the third album we released last year. Misty Blues Live at the Cavern Club. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if when I saw the Cavern Club if it is the real Cavern Club you were talking about or not. But it was.
It is. Yes. Yes. Now, the original Cavern Club, it was rebuilt, but it's in the same location. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it's pretty incredible. And just a great experience.
So where do you see yourself in the next 2 to 3 years with the band and with what you're doing these days?
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that we can play more overseas. It was really eye-opening for us to know how much folks really appreciate our music there. It's different. It's different in the UK with blues bands than here in the US. And I think that there's a place where we would be very well received. In fact, when we were out there, our tour booker was receiving messages from other countries saying, "Are they going to stop here? Are they going to?" So next year we have another tour set up. Next year we'll be focusing in on Ireland and then hopping back to England for a bit. But yeah, I'd love to go to France, Switzerland, Belgium. I'd love to just, really explore the world with our music. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is just doing more blues festivals overseas. And then another part of the country, we really haven't hit the West Coast or the Southwest, and that we need to do that. I want to go everywhere we can.
You will eventually. You will.
Slow and steady.
Tell me.
I think I got another 25 years in me.
There you go. Tell me about the cigar box guitar that you play.
I was gifted many years ago a cigar box guitar by a dear friend. I had been, looking at them, and I found one in a catalog that was really like snazzy. It was called the Delta Star, and I shared the catalog link with a friend of mine. I'm like, wow, doesn't that look awesome? A lot of times I just don't pull the plug on things that I immediately like. I don't know what the reason is. Well, she didn't hold back. She turned around and purchased it. And like a week later, after chatting with her about it, it was on my doorstep.
Wow.
And yeah, just awesome. And I picked it up and immediately wrote my first cigar box tune, which is called Hear My Call, which still is like a fan favorite. There are very few gigs I can get out of without having to play that song by request. And so then it became a thing. And what I love about the cigar box is the history, in that it is like one of the most authentic blues instruments out there, because when African Americans in the South were in the fields working and trying to keep their spirits up, they sang and they played music, but they didn't have instruments necessarily at their disposal. So they found a plank of wood, a nail, a wire, and they made music.
Yeah.
And that's just so wonderful to me. And that's why I have gravitated towards that instrument. I mean, I played piano from the age of 5. It's not, I know music, but that cigar box resonates for me because of of its origins and the meaning behind just the basic need to express yourself musically, and finding a way to do that with whatever you could find.
Wow. All right. Tell me how people find out about you.
All right. MistyBluesBand.com. And then we're on Facebook, Misty Blues Band, and Instagram, Misty Blues Band 413. That's the Western Mass area code.
All right.
And then you can find us on Bandcamp, and of course Spotify and Apple, iTunes. Our music is everywhere. Anywhere that you consume your music, you'll more than likely see us.
Well, thank you very much for taking some time out of your busy day. And
thank you for having me.
I look forward to seeing if we can get you and your son's band in sometime this year.
Absolutely.
And
we'll make that happen.
I will send you my Tina Turner tribute.
Thank you.
Through Marlene. I'll have her give it to you I'll send her. I'm going to send her a copy of the interview. And actually, I'll have the guy that I work with do that. But I'm going to send you the tribute, my Tina tribute, and you'll see the great songs I picked.
Oh, wonderful. I may have to steal some of those songs for my own show.
All right. Okay. There's some good ones.
Just being honest.
There's some great songs I had no idea she did on some of those records. Awesome. It was like, wow. And awesome. my listeners were all over it going, where'd you find that stuff? I said, if you look hard enough, great. You'll find it.
Yep. No, absolutely. Oh, so thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a great day.
No, you too.
Thanks. See ya.